If you're originating in 2025, then what you better do is raise your game. The days of people throwing deals at you are over.
If you don't have the ability to change in any business right now, you probably shouldn't be in the business you're in.
People have always had to adapt. How long have you been adapting, Jeff?
36 years, 37 years.
I'm on this podcast with man.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Welcome back to another edition of Laugh Underneath the podcast. And I don't know about all you guys, man, but it has been steamy here in DC. I mean, I'm not a radio show guy, but I feel like breaking into the weather report right now because it's like, as I was driving into the studio, it was 86 degrees right now at like 7:45 in the morning. And I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, this is not Pakistan. It's Washington, DC. Cool the shit down. Anyway, enough of that tirade. Guys, we're making record history here today on Laugh Underneath. Wes, I don't know if you know this. So our guest today is Wes Costello from AnnieMac's. And Wes, I don't know if you know this. You are the first guest in the 6.5 seasons of Laugh Underneath to come back twice in one season.
Oh my goodness, Fobby. I'm honored.
I mean, think about that, buddy. Nobody, I mean, we're talking Barry Habib, we're talking Christine Beckwith, we're talking Laura Brandeo, Todd Duncan. I mean, no one's come back twice.
Well, thank you very much for asking. I mean, it's like when I did SNL twice in one season. That was groundbreaking. But to do Laugh, Lend, and Eat twice in one season, I mean, no, really, that is very cool. You and I have a lot to talk about. Just kind of, we'll connect from time to time, and to be able to do it with you twice on your awesome podcast. It's really exciting.
You. I just wonder, like, what makes you such a glutton for punishment? That's really what I was like. It's like, did Joe P set you up for this? They said, you go do that. I want to do it this time.
You're a pro. You're very, very convincing, and you make it easy to. You're easy to talk to.
Well, listen, I mean, guys, the reason that we have Wes back on here, right, is, I mean, look, we had you on for Cash the Keys, right? We went through that whole thing. It was great, right? We really dissected Cash the Keys, and I think we all understood a lot better after that, right? So you come out with a new program, and it's kind of thought about this, by the way, because this is, once again, I asked you this question last time you were on here, like, does Joe just come up with you with these crazy ideas, and then you guys run off together and, like, go off to some kind of retreat in the mountains, put your head together and say, oh yeah, this will work really well, Joe? And what happens? Like, how do you come up with these crazy ass ideas?
So the idea of Appraisal Assurance by AnnieMac's Cash to Keys, it's been a little bit of an evolution. When we created Cash Offer and Buy Now Sell Later with Cash to Keys, we were looking at the different markets that we were going in and said, how can we be the best offering in each market? We started it in 2021 in New Jersey, and it was by far the best offering. When we looked to expand in the South and the Southeast, we looked at a company called Ribbon, who was doing cash offers then, and they had an appraisal waiver component to them. So when we went into Texas, we actually did what we're doing now in Texas with Cash to Keys, with Cash Offer and Buy Now Sell Later. And then we were going to expand it to other states. We were sort of days away from doing so, and then said, well, do we need to take on this additional risk? And decided that we didn't need to, that the platform was performing very, very well. And then actually late last year, someone came to us and said, hey, we really think that we need this in our market, and it can really be a difference maker for buyers that are struggling so much, even if they're removing the mortgage contingency, the home sale contingency, the appraisals contingency, scaring the heck out of people. And it's just inventory so tight, things are so competitive, that to have any contingency, including the appraisal contingency, is a hindrance, and they're losing some deals. So we got back under the hood and said, okay, there's still the opportunity to innovate here. came up with how it was going to be acceptable, how we could spread the risk across, us being a large financial institution, worked with the group that was asking for it, and then delivered it in pilot, and now a rollout to all of our
So
companies.
you let the cat out of the bag, right? I didn't want to stop you, right? But obviously, this is now your show. It's not my show anymore, and I'll be the guest, and you can be the host. You took my whole bang away, Wes. Let's just
keep on running on
stop
talking.
recording. Hey, listen. So the thing is, guys, is we are here to talk about AnnieMac's Appraisal Assurance program, right? Which really is very innovative. It's groundbreaking. It solves a lot of problems, like Wes just kind of went through. We're gonna go one at a time into this now, right? But it also creates confusion, right? And guys like me, and by the way, just FYI, like just so you know who I am, Wes, because I think we're starting to get to know each other a little bit better. I was a guy in algebra that literally did not understand what they meant when they said x minus y equals z. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, those are alphabets.
I still don't.
Thank you. So that's why we get along so well, Wes, because our brains think. So I was not able to see this, you know what I mean, until a teacher actually took me to the side and made everything visual. And then it kind of made sense to me, like I got it, you know what I mean? So I guess we're going to go through this one at a time. First of all, we know that you're doing this appraisal, or we're doing this AnnieMac, because I'm part of AnnieMac, right? We're doing this appraisal assurance program because it's fitting a need. So let's start from there. The need was, hey, we're doing cash offers, so we're doing away with financing contingency. We're doing buy now, sell later. So we're doing away with the contingency of having to sell my home. But you still got this appraisal here. And the appraisal contingency where other pure cash offers may not have that, right? So now you're saying, okay, add appraisal assurance, and whether you get a lingo term for people in the industry, right? PIW, right? Property inspection waivers. Whether you get that or not, I don't care, because AnnieMac's not going to require an appraisal. That's where I get stuck. What is that? You're still going to require appraisal, so it's not like you're waiving the appraisal, right?
Correct.
You're just saying this is what we are warranting the price of this dwelling to be. Round numbers, $500,000 for property X.
Yeah. So first, Fobby, at a high level, appraisal assurance by AnnieMac Cash to Keys removes the appraisal contingency. The appraisal contingency in the real estate contract for qualifying conventional buyers. And so how it works is we can look at a property irrespective of a potential buyer, and say, okay, we have this proprietary valuation process. We've got some appraiser brains in the organization with a lot of length of tenure in the organization. Mm-hmm. I'm still a certified appraiser and will be as long as I get my continuing education done in Pennsylvania in the next 4 days. And we have some other great appraisers in the organization. And so we have this quick proprietary valuation process where we look at the property and say, okay, we have a high confidence level that the property is going to be is worth X. And so we take that data and we can say, okay, if someone's putting 10% down on a conventional loan, then we can warrant that it's going to appraise for that value. It's not always going to, because the appraisal process is, and probably always will be, should be an independent valuation by a disinterested party. I mean, that's sort of our industry's pledge to buyers that are using financing, and that's not going to change.
Okay.
But we feel that, okay, there's a high likelihood it's going to appraise for X. And then based off that, we'll say, okay, it's not always going to, but we can accept the risk. A large financial institution, we can accept the risk when it's not. There's going to be a percentage of time when it's not. And that's where AnnieMac's going to step in and make the financial difference.
So Wes, let me get this straight here. This is where, like, okay, I remember, like, and I say Joe P. I hope the whole world knows. I'm talking about Joe Penabianco, the CEO of AnnieMac, right? The very first time I met Joe, or not very first time, excuse me, the first time he came to our office and we became part of AnnieMac, and he was talking about cash to keys, I looked at him in front of all my loan officers and managers and said, I don't understand, Joe. Where are you making money? Right? Because you're taking a lot of risk here. You're not making any money. And so I want to really dissect this. $500,000 sale price. You guys are warranting that giving a warranty, which is, I hope people legally understand, a warranty basically is a guarantee, right? I mean, you're using the word assurance, but it's basically a guarantee that we're going to give you a loan amount based off $500,000 sale price. So if the appraisal comes in at 450, 10% below, what happens?
So in that case, Fobby, AnnieMac is going to. So let's say that in that case, the borrower, the buyer, was planning on putting down 15% down payment,
Okay.
and so their loan to property value was going to be 85. We valued the property at that offer price and said, yeah, we have a high degree of confidence and we can warrant that it's going to appraise for that. But it comes in $50,000 short.
Mhm.
And so then that LTV, which was 85, is changing to say 91.
Right.
And so instead of paying a mortgage insurance rate based on a factor of 85%, which is really the lowest mortgage insurance factor that you can get, you're not only going up to the higher factor under 90, but it goes by 5-degree increments. So now you're at the 95, just about the highest mortgage insurance factor. So that person's payment can change where they've got an extra $105, $120 additional monthly payment with mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
So our pledge to the buyer there is that your payment's not going to change. And how we're going to effectuate that so that the payment stays the same is we're going to do what's called split payment, single payment mortgage insurance premium. So in that case, we would pay, say, $3,500, $4,000 one-time payment into the transaction so that they are still paying the mortgage insurance factor at 85. So whatever that was, they're paying $85 a month in mortgage insurance. That's what they're still paying because we've taken a top off the.
So their payment never changes. Now they could elect, I guess, a reasonable homeowner could elect to renegotiate the sale price with the seller saying, hey, look, the contract was based off this value. There's a renegotiation period. Even though AnnieMac is making me whole on my payment, I still want to get the lower price. Is that something that the buyer could have the option to do that?
They can if they want to. And Fobby, that really brings up a whole bigger topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's among common consumer transactions, and I'm including buying a house as one of those. There's so much uncertainty that once you agree in writing with the other party that yes, you're going to sell and I'm going to buy. Usually, if you go and you go online and you buy tools, for example, and you put your order in, you're really agreeing to purchase there. And usually, the seller, if you're buying a Craftsman tool, is saying, "I'm giving you a lifetime guarantee. You're agreeing to buy. I'm giving you a lifetime guarantee." And probably 99% of those transactions go on. No one returns their Craftsman tools, for example, or cancels the contract before they take delivery of it. But when we're buying a house in America, there's so many contracts that don't go to consummation. In the month of April, 14.5% of purchase contracts terminated before they close. And in some markets, it's exceeding 20%.
That was like the highest in 2020, by the way.
What's that, Fobby?
That's like the highest since the 2020 before the pandemic hit, actually.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So just like not understanding algebra, we're in the same wavelength there too.
I read up on this stuff because I'm just always trying to stay ahead. But yeah, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
And so it's no wonder that sellers are suspicious, just concerned of not just the price that's offered for a home, but the terms, the contingencies, and the lack of contingencies. And you started off kind of talking about cash buyers, and that's why cash buyers are so attractive because they're not putting those mortgage contingencies, home sale contingencies. Sometimes a smart buyer cash buyer is still putting in an appraisal contingency
Absolutely.
because they've got the power of cash. They're not going to overpay for a home. They don't have those contingencies. So they could say, yeah, I'm removing all the other contingencies, but I'm only going to pay what this house is worth and may have an appraisal contingency.
It seems fair to do that, though, doesn't it? I mean, in full blown, like I wouldn't want to. Just me, right? And I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm frugal, but I'm very cautious. I wouldn't want to pay $50,000 more for a house, like just because AnnieMac is saying, "Okay, I'm going to keep your payment the same." Like I'd be like, "Hold on,
Yes.
I have a problem here."
Yeah, and so back to your question, yes, they could have that contingency. I would say Appraisal Assurance is the platform for people that have confidence that when they're making an offer, that they believe the home value is worth that, and if it appraises a bit less, it's nice to have the financial institution say, well, it's not going to impact you because your payment's not going to change. And so really what we're trying to do, Fobby, and I think not what we're trying to do, what we've done is when we looked at the housing industry with the uncertainty of contract, where 14.5% and more of contracts are falling out and sellers are suspicious of that.
Mhm.
For confident buyers, we can take the uncertainty out of their purchase contract offer so that the seller has certainty that this contract, where they're offering me $500,000 for the home, and I have another bid or maybe 5 other bids, they have the certainty. Okay, I can pick that contract, and my price is not going to fade.
Yeah.
Not going to not come to closing because they haven't sold their departing residence, or all of a sudden there's an issue with their mortgage, or they're saying there's an issue with their mortgage, or this appraised for $450,000 and I didn't like the look of that person that came to my house anyway. So there's all this uncertainty and suspicion of the prices. So we're bringing that certainty so those folks can win, and that's how we're innovating in the
Now
space.
you bring up another point though, and I don't know if you saw that in what you were saying, right? So you guys have your proprietary software for appraising or whatever, appraise values, right? Would it be fair to say that if I was going to go and say, "Hey Wes, I'm going to put a deal on a $500,000 house. Here's the address. You know what I mean, give me the appraisal assurance that I'm asking for, right?" And you come back and say, "Fob, look, we did our numbers. We're not going to go over 460 to give you your warranty. That house is $40,000 overpriced, and you need to know that before you put the contract in." Is that something that appraisal assurance gives me?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's huge. So it's giving the buyers kind of like that, kind of like almost like they know what the value should come in at before they put the contract in. So they have a certainty also. You're talking about sellers having certainty, but now as a buyer, I can say, okay, look, Mr. Seller, I know you listed at 500, but my guy Wes, he's a seasoned pro, and I got an appraisal assurance saying, if you sell to me at 460, I'm good with that sale price.
Yeah. And sometimes people are going to say, hey, to me, it's worth more, and we're okay with that risk. Or they might take that information and then get back with their expert agent and say, okay, let's look at this. How does this impact my decision? What's your advice on that?
You know,
And another fact, go ahead.
sorry, you know what this reminds me of is years ago. Remember when Carfax came out?
The Carfax report.
Yeah, and they would give you the report of like, hey, this car is actually valued at this. You could just go inside the dealership and negotiate. Like, I have this report here, and it's telling me this, and then I think, I mean, I don't know where all it is today. I haven't bought a car in years, but it's one of those things. Like once you do that, like you kind of have the facts. Like this house is worth X.
Yeah. So that's too strong of a statement in some ways, or it could be interpreted too strongly,
Okay.
right? Because it's not an appraisal. It's something that we come up with in a 4-hour window without stepping foot in the property. So in that context, it's highly accurate, but it's not an appraisal. We haven't been in the property.
Okay.
We've looked at pictures of the property, and it's not just computer generated. It starts with a computer generation that then has a human element behind it. But I wouldn't want someone to say, and so I wouldn't make the statement, hey, this property's not worth this because this report says it's 450.
I don't
not
think Michelle
500.
Mount ever watches our show, so we're good there.
Excuse me.
I don't think Michelle Mount ever watches the show, so we're good.
Oh, our senior vice president of compliance. True, but I wasn't making that statement.
I'm just joking.
Purposes.
Yeah, I get it.
I wanted to make that statement just so that this is really the intent of it is for us at AnnieMac to know what our risk is, so that this is a strong platform, but it's also a sustainable platform. Because if we're wrong and we're paying out $4,000 on this transaction, $4,000 on that transaction, we're going to zip up this platform pretty quickly.
Yeah. So is it safer to say, because I want to stay with this for a second, is it safer to say that you guys are giving guardrails?
Yes.
Is
That's
that
a great way to put it.
I think guardrail seems more appropriate then, right? So it's not a Carfax or whatever that true cars, whatever they call themselves nowadays, but this is kind of like guardrails. Like, hey, Fob, we think it's still 460. Could be wrong, but you know what I mean. This is what we're going to give you the warranty at for your appraisal insurance certificate.
Yes, yeah, and those are guardrails for us. And another way, Fobby, that you can see this appraisal assurance documentation certification is at an open house. So, we work with listing agents when they list their property to say, hey, you've listed your property for $500,000. It's a beautiful property. You're marketing it very well. And we wanted to let you know that based on our proprietary valuation, a qualifying conventional buyer can offer as much as $535,000 without having an appraisal contingency in the contract. And so they might want to display that at the open house. Hey, we're offering this at 500, but just so you know, working with this institution, if you're a qualifying conventional buyer, you can offer up to $535,000 without including an appraisal contingency. They'll take on the risk of that. And so in that way, the potential buyer at that open house could interpret that as, hey, it's not a guarantee that it's going to appraise for $535,000, but there's a financial institution that has a high enough confidence that if it doesn't, they're going to pay out money into the transaction. So pretty experienced, pretty smart organization thinks it's worth that. Maybe my hunch that this is that right house for us is right.
Now, also this is also, and we need to talk about this a little bit, right? This is also very market dependent. Like the Northeast market is nowhere near like the Southwest market today in June 2025. Let's make an earmark of that of the where we are right now, right? So Northeast market, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all that area up there, right? You guys still have a lack of inventory, still kind of going crazy, tight market, right? Whereas in the Southwest, we have I wouldn't say an overflow of houses, but there's an abundance of housing, and the builders have overbuilt, and now they're trying to unload their deals. I hear about all sorts of crazy stuff that they're doing down there, right? So it really is market dependent, but based on appraisal assurance and AnnieMac cash to keys, you guys are aware of that and you're taking that into account when you give that certificate to a borrower if they're in Texas versus if they're in New Jersey.
Yes. And I would say that some contingencies, they're just leading to uncertainty in the contract. It can show that a buyer is not as committed to purchasing the property. I always equate this to when someone says, oh, Wes, your AnnieMac Cash Keys cash offer program is almost as good as a traditional cash offer. And I know that's not the topic that we're talking about, but I'll try to bring it back. And I say, no, it's better than a traditional cash offer because people that are making a traditional cash offer can walk away out of the transaction if they get cold feet. So they might have a home inspection contingency that they blame it on, or they might have a small earnest money deposit that they're okay walking away from. But when it's a cash keys cash offer, we're buying the house. Like our reputation is worth gold. We're not going to default on a contract. The traditional cash buyers, they default on contracts every day in this country. And so even if it's in a market where it shifted and buyers and sellers are in equilibrium with inventory, or it's even a buyer's market, nobody wants to take a mortgage contingency. We think it should be a thing of the past. Anybody could say, oh, I was denied and get a document. It may be true. It may not be the case. And so with appraisals, sometimes there can be a appraisal that's off because as it should be, it's a disinterested third party, one person's opinion of value. Any appraiser will tell you it's an opinion of value. And so consumers can now remove that uncertainty of an opinion of value in their offer. If they're well educated and their realtor has provided them with a good CMA, and together they say, okay, we're confident I'm not overpaying for this property. We might get an appraisal lower, and then we don't have the financial ability to make up the difference in there, and we'll have to negotiate, and we might terminate the contract. Now, here's a way where if you have that level of confidence, and it's ultimately always a consumer's decision, even with an appraisal assurance certificate, and not have that appraisal contingency in the contract. It's Burger King. They're having it their way. They make the choice. They can have a home inspection. They cannot have a home inspection. They can have an appraisal contingency. They cannot have an appraisal contingency if they qualify. But if they have that confidence, they can then move forward with that certainty. And then it's the big financial institution that has the financial burden if it underappraises to pay into that. And we think that the housing industry has been ripe for innovation in this space for a long time. And it's high time that we have this innovation where a large financial institution can bridge the gap of contingencies and cash competitiveness with these aspects of the contract.
So once again, you open up another question for me. Like, this is very interesting. What is, I mean, I don't know how much you can share about it, right? I mean, hopefully you can share some about it, but what is the risk for AnnieMac in this appraisal assurance program? I mean, you've said that a few times, right? So there's obviously some inherent risk that we're taking with this program. What does that look like? I mean, have you guys thought about that? Or I'm sure you have, right? I mean, you guys aren't just going to go waste Joe's money like that, right?
Correct. Yeah. So for AnnieMac cash to keys, there's a financial risk there, and we've modeled it. 5 ways to Sunday, and we say, okay, well, we might lose this much, we might lose this much, we might lose this much, and we've kind of settled. Okay, we think let's go under the assumption that we're gonna lose this much, but we could even lose a little bit more, and it's not a moneymaker. So the institution that AnnieMac Cash to Keys has partnered with, AnnieMac Home Mortgage, is bringing this innovation to consumers, to referral partners in the marketplace, and for all the constituents, it's better for realtors, for buyers, sellers, and then for buyers and sellers further down the chain that maybe a seller has accepted a contract based on appraisal assurance, because if they don't close, they're not going to be able to purchase the next property and on down the line. So all those constituents, they're elevated as a result of this. And what we're seeing, Fobby, is that an AnnieMac loan officer talks to the listing agent when appraisal assurance is being used and explains it. And the listing agent is an advocate for their client. They want to understand it, make sure that it is what it says it is. And then in the next breath, they're saying to the AnnieMac loan officer, how can my clients, my buyers get this? And how do I get you to come into my office and talk to my broker and talk to my team and talk to all of our real estate agents?
So I this is just my brain, right? I hear Justin Timberlake in my head. I'm like, I'm hearing you say you're bringing certainty back.
Yes, Bob, you brought sexy back. I'm bringing certainty back.
I mean, is that what we were saying? You're bringing certainty back to the real estate transaction.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I don't know real estate history well enough, but there was probably a time when you didn't have all those contingencies in the contract. But I mean, if there was that time, then we're bringing
there always be these contingencies. Is just I felt, And I was telling somebody else the other day, we were laughing. I ran into a friend of mine that we used to work together in like 95, 96. We hadn't seen each other in almost 30 years, right? And both of us gotten older, and the mortgage industry's changed, blah, 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 blah. And we both looked at each other and said, it was weird. Like before, we used to just get contracts. The realtor would bring a client into the office with a contract. We never pre-approved those guys back in those days, and we just figured out how to get the loan done somehow. And then over the years, this progression has occurred where it's become this refined process of pre-qualify, pre-approve, get this, get that. And now you took it to the next level with cash to keys. We were removing this, we're doing that. Now the next generation, we got you back on the appraisal. So once again, it's like you're bringing the certainty back to this industry that hasn't been around for a while. So maybe it was a conversation with my friend Al, and then having this conversation with you that I kind of heard Justin Timberlake in my head when you were going off, bringing that certainty back. You know what I mean? And that's a cool thing I think for realtors, for loan officers, and for consumers. Basic question. Basic question. As a loan officer, what's required? What are the steps, the elementary steps that a loan officer for AnnieMac has to take to get his appraisal insurance for his clients?
Yeah, so loan officers at AnnieMac are using appraisal assurance in two ways, and I sort of talked to maybe the way that doesn't immediately jump into our heads is there's a property. There's no borrower. They maybe want to let the listing agent know about appraisal assurance. So there's a property, and then they're going to go and they're going to click on the request form. They're going to say, okay, this is the property address. This is a potential loan to property value that someone's using, and this is an offer price. And so they provide that. And on the next screen, they'll then kick off the valuation by entering the information so we can get a enhanced valuation. And then they click submit. And so then, knock on wood, we're trying to hold our SLA of 4 hours.
7 days a week. 7 days a week.
Including Saturday and Sunday. That's
really
right. Yeah. So
you guys are like the little elves.
Yeah. I'm not saying we're going to have that forever. As we've rolled out and it's getting popular. It's getting stressed. But then that's what they need to do, and then they'll get this back. That is either, hey, maybe no, like it's not going to. We don't have the confidence level it's going to appraise here, or we do. Then here's your appraisal assurance certificate. And then the second piece is if they have a specific potential buyer, where someone comes to them at 9:30 this morning, maybe a realtor called them and said, hey, that appraisal assurance thing you told me about, I'm working with the Joneses and you haven't met them yet, but they have to make best and final tonight at 6:00. Can the Joneses use this appraisal assurance on this property that I've never told you about the Joneses or this property before? So then in addition to requesting the valuation and providing what they want to offer on the property, then the loan officer is going to talk to the Joneses and say, hey, okay, let's take a application. Let's talk about your assets. And they're going to have to qualify conventionally.
Okay.
We're not offering this paired with other loan types. And they're going to have to verify that the Joneses have assets to do a 10% deposit plus the closing costs and the desire to do so. So that's everything for the loan officer.
Wow. So it's not as difficult as my head made it sound. It's more like just another step in like one step really. I'm going online, I'm filling out this form, and then I'm waiting for one of your elves to come back with a value within 4 hours, right? For right now, and it could change tomorrow, but at this time it's 4 hours to get a valuation certificate, whether it works or whether it doesn't work.
Yeah, we really wanted this to make a difference in the industry. And we wanted to, we've had this beta test for a good while. We baked it, we, changed the ingredients. We made it so that not only is it have a high degree of reliability, it's not for us 100% reliable, these valuations, but it's also functional in that, hey, you can deliver this in a time frame that works for all the constituents that are involved. We do some other things in removing some other contingencies in cash to keys. That takes longer. That takes, hey, cash keys is going to buy this property if nobody else,
Right.
if the buyer doesn't. So that's going to take a little bit longer. And then maybe if they took a few days to get a cash offer approval, and then they want to throw this on top, we can't add another couple of days. This has got to be quick, and it's got to work for the constituents.
So you can just for the listening audience, you can actually pair this with cash to keys. So you could actually make a cash offer with appraisal assurance, thereby removing mortgage contingency and appraisal contingency.
And home sale contingency.
I mean, you got that's buy now, sell later, right? The cash offer is
correct.
Right? So I got cash to keys down, man. I did that to you last time, right? But once again, I mean, you guys got to figure out how to get the theme song of "I'm bringing consistency back" or certainty back. That's got to be the theme for this product. I mean, this is what I'm feeling now is customers using AnnieMac loan officers can have a high degree of certainty that whatever program or whatever mortgage or transaction they're getting into is actually the right transaction for them. And I really mean that. That's what I'm kind of feeling now with the guardrails and that kind of stuff. Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like if AnnieMac is willing to guarantee or not guarantee warrant, give me a warranty for the value of the property, right? Then I feel pretty good that a large institution is my partner in this transaction. That's a pretty cool feeling, man.
Yeah, I think you summed it up incredibly there.
I do this for a living, so I'm a spokesperson on the side. So I mean, is there anything? And I know we're coming up at the end here, so I gotta ask: is there anything about this program? How do I say this? Really simple. Okay. Is there anything about this program that scares you personally? That makes you like, oh my God, am I really going to do this? Where am I going to be in 12 to 18 months?
Certainly. So, you can model and model all you want, but until you get out there and run with something, you don't know how it's going to go. So you have those concerns. And I forget who said it, but someone said that if when you go to market, if your platform or your product is absolutely perfect, you waited too long to go to market. And so it's not perfect, it's not completely watertight. And so, yeah, we're gonna find those things, but working, you mentioned Joe Panabianco, working with and for Joe, he's okay with that. He said, oh, let's get it out there. Let's disrupt the market. Let's make the industry better for people. And if we take a lump or two, we're going to be better the next day. So yes, we do have some concerns, but we feel strongly about it.
All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you come back on Life Letter Need to explain this to me and my cohorts who are too afraid to ask you on those live webinars that you've been doing for us. These silly ass questions that I have in my head that were coming around, but I look, I feel a whole lot better about this program right now. And so it's going to be easier for me to talk about it to whenever I'm doing anything about this program, right? And I think that's ultimately when you can feel good about something, then it makes it easier to go out there and not only sell it, but also convey with certainty how good the program is. So, Wes, thank you for coming back on Live, Let It Need. If you come up with another program before December, you could make it a three-peat in one season, which I don't know if anybody could ever repeat that.
Well, if I do, can you play some Justin Timberlake? I'm bringing certainty back.
I will absolutely guarantee you. Look, right now, here's what we got on our roster. Just give it. We have this.
Like it?
Right. We got now. This might be a good song for you guys. This is called "You Dropped the Bomb on Me" by the Gap Band. It's a little before your time, right? But
I remember that.
You get a taste of my music style here. So maybe what it is you guys have just dropped the bomb on everybody, and now the rest of the industry's got to catch up to you guys.
All right, we'll get back in the lab. And Fobby, I wanted to wish you on your podcast a very happy birthday. I know you didn't break stride working, like chatting me at like 10:30 at night and 7 in the morning. But I hope that you had a great birthday with your family.
Thank you, brother. No, it was a great year, actually. It's been an amazing last 12 months, and I'm looking forward to another 12 months on this planet. So, all right, man. Let's get out of here. Okay, Wes?
Thank you, Fobby.
And we're